The Institute for the Study of Peak States presents the 6th International Psychoimmunology and Psychobiology Research Symposium. In this video, Using Trauma Healing for Zen Realization by Dr. Lykkegaard, Dr. Grant McFetridge, Dr. Mary Pellicer, and Shayne McKenzie.
Rightio, so for our last session for today, we've got all of our presenters here. So my name's Shayne McKenzie. I'm the CEO of the Institute for the Study of Peak States. With me, I have my colleagues here. So we've got our founder, Dr. Grant McFetridge, our Director of Research, Dr. Lykkegaard, and our Medical Director of Applied Research, Dr. Mary Pellicer. We had a question for you, Mary. So following on from that last presentation that Kirsten did, so we're going to talk about Zen realization. Who's starting that? Is that Kirsten or you, Mary?
Yes, Mary? I'm going to just start.
Yeah.
But okay. As always, I get to start and then Kirsten carries the load. So I really wanted Kirsten to talk about this. And the reason is that I have never studied Zen Buddhism. I've heard about it. And generally, the thing I will say is what we believe in the Institute, or what I believe in the Institute, is peak states are our birthright. And unlike a lot of people that think you have to do Zen meditation for 20 years to earn or to get to these amazing states, if you fix the right developmental event, you get amazing peak states, right? So that's what I say about the only usually times I use Zen. And this story that Kirsten is going to tell, for me, it's amazing because no one comes in to the physician and says, I want to get a Zen realization. I want enlightenment. They don't say that, right? It's like, give me the pill because I feel like shit, right? And so this, for me, this story isn't about a medical condition. It's about this Zen realization, which, people that were on a personal development path are often looking for. And this Kirsten story is going to show, oh, yes, look at the model. The model says stuff is going wrong in our biology and how we outpicture, whether that's a physical problem or in this case, a shut down realization that all people could have isn't there. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
So Kirsten, are you elaborating now around?
I think, Grant, you're going to ask a question.
Grant.
Thinking that Grant would ask me questions, but I can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Grant can ask some questions around that.
So I can start with my story, maybe. So
yeah.
I wasn't looking for this. We were actually traveling in New Zealand, and this is 3 years ago now. No, well, yeah, 3 years ago. And so we were stopping at this cafe, and they had a sort of this little section with used books. And so I went in there and just started looking. And then I went, holy cow, there is a book here with, is that true? And then I looked over at Grant, is that your, teacher? He used to sit in a Zen monastery in Hawaii under the supervision of Roshi, Aitken Roshi. Robert Aitken Roshi, and this book was actually co-authored by him. It was like an interview or talk between a Catholic priest and then Aitken Roshi, discussing different things in our culture differences and how it's experienced in Christianity and in Buddhism. And so I thought, I'll just get this book. And so I bought it and I kind of read a little bit as we were traveling around, but just stuck it in my suitcase. And then when I came back to Hornby Island in Canada, I'm an old gymnast, so I enjoy sitting on the floor stretching. And I was doing this one evening and I was just reading. And there was this discussion between the Catholic priest and he was asking something about, what about koans? And Aiken Roshi said, well, there is this koan, and then he just quoted the koan. And in the moment I read the koan, it's a very brief, I don't know, do you want me to So it's just a very brief sentence. And as I read that, I was like, something in me just opened up, and I just knew what the answer was. And I just sat there, and it was so intense right there. And I looked over at Gren and I said, whoa, like, this is amazing. I mean, I had not read koans before, or anything like that. So that was the experience there. And Grant said, you gotta just feel into it. Can you, is this, continuous, or can you access it? It was like, it was a moment of opening for sure. And so I could. I was like, I can access it. And so one day, not long after, we walked over to our favorite cafe, and as we were walking, um, with our work, what Mary just said, we know that peak states are blocked by trauma in prenatal development. And so we were both like, I wonder where in development this is, because, I can access it, but I can still feel that there's a little bit of something. It's not present all the time in me. It's not just there. But I definitely had that glimpse of it that I can access. And so we took a look at it, and that was at that stage where we just looked and said, okay, that's where it is. And I could feel what it was going on with it. Then I think 2 years later, actually, so we were busy and, doing research, doing all the things that we do. And I think it had been nagging in the back of our heads that we should be looking at this. But was it actually true what I had experienced? So what we did was we looked around to, should I travel to a Zen monastery to get a one-on-one with a teacher and just verify what I experienced was actually the Zen realization, a glimpse of that, or how big and how deep is it, and so and so. Because you can be very delusional about this stuff, because yeah. Anyway, so I finally settled on there was a place that actually had regular meditations, actually many times a week, but they had actually on the Sunday they had an all-day Senkai. And so I wrote them and said, can I sit with you? Because they also had in that, they had the where you actually have time with the teacher in between meditations. And so I did, and he confirmed that that was an experience of an not enlightenment, but a realization. And he also said it can be deeper, so he gave me some more questions to work on, but the fact that it was on the right track was encouraging. So from there, we actually sat down and then said, okay, we know where in development it is, so what's blocking it? And then we went from there and did a process, came up with a process, and with Mary's applied research team, we worked on it. But again, with that team, we're working on so many things that we did it when we didn't have any other plans for that session. And so we spent, 2 hours at one time, and I think maybe an hour later to clean up some things. And it was a mixed, I mean, we know we need to do more and that there is more trauma to heal on this. But I think most of the people in our group had a taste of it, you can say. So it's not stable in us as a continuous ongoing, I would say, in my work, which in my line of work, where, as you heard Mary's talk, I mean, we bang on prenatal trauma, so it's pretty trauma filled in a sense of evoking. And I would say those traumas, they override, they do. So, and for a fully enlightened person, that wouldn't happen. So we know we have more work to do. Yeah. That's basically the story. So if you have any
amazing story. Thanks for sharing. Grant, you have some questions you want to ask on this topic?
Mary, do you want to start?
Yes. Well, my question would be around people that are interested in Zen meditation and meditators in general. Do you think they'd be, you know, want to know about this approach, or what do you think the Zen Buddhist would think about this? And as part of it, oh, the trial and doing it. There's many other things that come, I'm sure, but yeah.
There's probably a lot of aspects in it. I think the culture around it is also beneficial. So when you go and sit in a monastery, that whole culture does something that what we do with this trauma healing is not doing. It's adding to something. So there's the culture, there's the whole philosophy of doing it the old way, because it's been done for hundreds of years in the Zen tradition, and it actually works for them. Not for everyone, but for some. So, and if I would think about, would people actually want this? If you think about meditators, we have a silent mind process in the Institute. I don't see meditators come knock on our door a lot. It happens, but it's mainly because of other reasons. So I don't know. I think it just verifies our model, and builds to the strength of it, you can say, that it is possible.
Thanks.
I'll add, for many years I was going, where the hell is Zen realization? Our model says it's somewhere, but I can't find the bugger. Well, it turned out that I'd actually located the right developmental event, but I hadn't realized it was hiding there. And so Kirsten's breakthrough then allowed us to go, oh, you just didn't go far enough in this event. And there it was. So it was a big relief to me, because the model said it's got to be somewhere. And I was going, shit.
It's funny that in the Buddhist tradition, they talk about the gateless gate. And it's so there is a gate and it's not guarded. You can say you can just walk through it, but you're, like you said, Mary, you're hindering it, and that's our traumas. And then, I mean, there's definitely a hindrance, but
I think it's also tricky because this one has a pathogen problem
exactly.
involved.
So.
As many of the best ones do.
Is there any other questions either of you want to ask the person on this topic? Or are we ready to close the Zen realization topic?
Just 1 second. Well, are we going to work on it again?
The question is, the answer to that is yes. The question really is, Kirsten, is when?
When
might we work on
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, tinnitus is ahead of it in the queue for sure.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, I'm assuming.
Yeah, the other thing for me that this brings up, and going back to the early days, and Grant would always say, well, developing this model or thinking about developing this model is, he didn't say, okay, this is just about psychological problems or medical problems. He said, this has to explain everything, whether it's in shamanic traditions or philosophical traditions, in this case, in Buddhism, or unexplainable medical problems, because there's like one reality. It all has to fit into one, as opposed to like the most famous example maybe is physics, where we got classic Newtonian physics and then quantum physics. And I don't know, and people know they don't actually meet, right? There's this big disconnect. And then we won't even talk about, again, spiritual traditions and such, where is like the scientists say, okay, that's not our deal, that's something else. And this is like, okay, where is that? How does that work? And I think this is just an amazing example of that, is it can explain all kinds of things, from psychological problems to medical problems to Zen problems.
I've got two questions. Given your experience so far, would it change people in significant ways to give them the Zen realization?
Well, I think if you so far with what we have, with what we've done, it's not enough to change people's behavior. Like in my case, I say, but I'm also a person working in the minefield here of trauma. So I think what the Zen tradition actually cultivate is that you, by acting with, you can say, with kindness and all the antidotes they use for actually hanging on to yourself and personal things and personal gains or whatever, all the antidotes they use in their daily life enhances and promotes actually probably accessing that in that space of realization. And so again, what was the question? Why was I going there?
Just fundamental change.
Fundamental change. We need. We know we are missing another piece, and we also know where in development we are needing to go.
Oh, you mean for a different state? Or for this one?
For this one.
For this one. Okay.
For this one.
Yeah. So if I'm a certified therapist, how soon will this Zen realization be available for clients and therapists?
As Mary said, it's tinnitus is on top of the list. This one is not far. It's not far up on the list, but it's definitely dear to our hearts because everyone should be at peace with themselves, the world, and yeah. And this is definitely one thing that can help with that.
And
Okay.
One more question.
Just a second. I want to say, as medical director of applied research, write this down. July 4th, which is Independence Day in the United States, 2028. That's when it will. Yeah. That's when we'll know.
Put that out of your
Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Grant. You had another question.
I think a lot of people would be curious, given your perspective, how do you experience Zen realization?
That's a very good question.
We've given it a label, but how is it experienced?
And so I can put words on it, but I would then again say what I experienced. I don't think that even if I, had somebody describe it, that nothing goes beyond the experience. And that's also what Zen or Buddhism in tradition also, it's like it's something you have to feel. So, but if I should put words on it, so I did this with my hands, something opened inside of me, and it was a deep knowing. Yeah, okay, it's about here in my body, but it was a deep knowing. It was like I knew the answer to this question even before I mean, was at the last word. And so that knowing is so profound and so silencing inside, a peaceful in a sense, that it's as if with that, nothing can rock your what is that called? Your boat. I mean, it's like with that inside you, that knowing and that feeling of that space, and that's the truth of everything in a sense. It's the truth of the essence of what we are, what things are, what essentially everything is that exists. That's just so peaceful, that knowing. That's how I would describe it.
Mary?
Are you asking if I have another question or?
Want to follow up on
Well, I think in general with peak states, what Kirsten was struggling with is you can't understand them by talking about them. I mean, the language is just so limited, and it's really about an experience. And Kirsten's amazing video that she did on Beauty Way, and what did you call it?
Being human as a spectrum.
Being a human as a spectrum experience, right? And so wonderfully explained, but that sense of and again, when I got into inner peace, people thought I was crazy. It's like, what are you talking about? This makes absolutely no sense. And the more you try to explain it, they think, okay, she's just totally lost it. So I think all the peak states are like that. You just can't explain it. You have to experience it. Yeah. So
we do have one question from the audience on this topic. So Christian's asking about, is that Zen state connected anyhow to what's labeled the void, or ultimately knowing who you are, or giving this sense of truth?
Again, those are words.
Mm.
So some people could label what I experienced with those words, but I wouldn't.
Right.
So I guess it's not, but I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
know. From
There was a bit of a sense of the truth there, right? That kind of
and knowing
knowing.
there is also knowing a beauty way. You have an inner knowing. This was a knowing on a specific, and it wasn't something about who I am per se. So I think that's what you had in one of the sentences, is knowing who you are or something.
Exactly. Yeah, that was one of the options. Yeah.
No, it was like me as a person disappeared. It wasn't important because with this knowing, you just
hard to put words on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
To follow up on that, it's definitely not the truth state.
Yeah.
Which is a big state on its own. And what were the other choices he asked? I forgot.
The first one was about the void.
Yeah, not the void either.
No.
And the third choice was?
The second one was around knowing yourself, knowing who you are, something like that.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Great. So let's wrap back around then to nothing else on Zen realization we want to talk about today. Yep. Okay, great. Fascinating topic. Glad we've got an opportunity to share that.
Thank you for watching. For more information, please visit our website www.peakstates.com.